Hello and welcome back. It wasn't until I edited last week's video that I realised I'd forgotten to take this train into the station, which had been one of the things I was planning on and getting the points set up at the beginning of the video. So apologies for running the same train again, but lovely item to run. So a slightly different view of it this week. So I'll jump the other side of the railway in a moment and we'll get her into the station. But you can see I've begun work on the tail end of the turntable there, getting that set up. My aim in the next few days is to try and improve that track work there and get the point work wired up. So I'm quite looking forward to getting that done. So it'll add a lot more functionality to it. Some great fun to be had with it, I think. Let's just catch this plus 47 sleeper train here. Coming through the double curve. And across that diamond crossing. And then we'll just calm that down a little now. And see if I can stop it before the points this time. There we go. You can hear that hum in the background. My son's commandeered the 3D printer for the day. So he's printing quite a largish model. Well, not that large, but it's got a print time of in excess of 5 hours, so that's helping him out with his homework. You can see that going on there. So I'll just get these points set and we'll have a quick glance at the progress I've just started, just sorting out the track work and the joints for these rails, and we'll jump back to that in a second or so, and we'll see what progress I've made. But let's get this into the station, which would be one of my plans last week. So I think if we widen the camera a little, there we go. So I think I have all the point work set and she should just roll into the station. So if I hold that up a bit higher, we'll be able to get an overall view. And then we'll just bring her to a stop next to that end canopy there, I think. And there we go. She occupies rather a lot of the platform. We'll just have a quick glance at that. Quite pretty, those coaches in electric blue. It did occur to me that perhaps I should have run a different model, different locomotive with these. Maybe we'll have a look at that a little bit later on. There's a Class 31 in the experimental blue, which would have gone quite nice. And I've got an EM2, which I think would look quite nice with it. Still, perhaps that's for a bit later. I'm going to get back to fiddling with this track work and trying to sort out the wiring up the points. So we'll cut back to this in a short while and see how well I've done with it. I got a bit of work done on this over yesterday, so today is the 5th of July, and I've got all of the track down and cleaned, and it all sort of transfers electricity, so it works now. I've only got one of the points electrified. We've got number 4A, that was the original wiring. Let me just grab the switch there, 4R, sorry. So I've got that one in operation. And I've got one isolating section wired back properly to a switch in here, so I can get one locomotive here, one here, and then I can hold one here on the approach up to the turntable, as it were. So I thought that would be a good use of the track. I had thoughts of putting a reverse point in here and putting a locomotive into this area here, but it doesn't really gain anything. If I can hold, 2 locomotives here and here and 2 here, so that's, I've got 6 standing around the shed, should be more than enough for the toy trains. You can see the sun is beaming away this morning. So all of the track work's down and pinned or screwed down as it is. And I've got the isolating sections in, and they're wired underneath, but not back to switches. I'm still a couple of switches short, so I've got to get a black switch for this point here, and 2 more green switches for the isolating sections, or I could use the little micro switches. We'll have a quick look underneath here so we can see some of the wiring here. So this is the wiring for the point that was existing, because we already had a point there in the sidings off the turntable, and here is the blanks, as it were, off the isolating track. So I've just looped that round, so when I get the switches we can get those wired back to the controllers. So I was quite pleased with that for an afternoon's work. Let's just give this a little power. Let's see which way she's running the king here. So yeah, had to be the wrong direction. So this will go into the sidings here. So I'd better hold one there, and with the use of the isolated section I'd better hold another there. So we'll just back that up onto the turntable. The sun's vanished now. So we'll just rotate the turntable back around. So I did mention a couple of weeks ago that the Evening Star, the 9Fs, they don't like this first radius curve and the drop off here. So once I get this all put back together again, we'll get Evening Star out again and have a look at that. Very, very happy on these 2 outlets, but this one, I think it's the combination of the drop down and the first radius. It's not ideal using the first radius, but that was the only way I could get that to run. So let's give the turntable a little power. Here we go, and we'll just roll off onto that line. Sunshine's back with us again. So that all works quite nicely, doesn't it? To remember the few times I tried to pull something out of these lines over the last few videos that got constant sort of stalls and stuff because the track was dirty and the rail joiners were all bad. So that's running as we want at the moment. Let's jump back on the turntable. I think I've gone a little too far back there. Let's just nudge her forwards a little. There we go. Lovely looking model, the King Edward there. Getting a little dusty sitting on the layout, doing all this work. So we'll just continue to rotate the turntable around. And let's see if we can just roll off there. And then we'll try the electric point for added fun. I've picked up the wrong switch. I'm looking at the camera and picking up the wrong switch in the background this time. There we go. And then we'll roll the loco forward again. You can see the engine sheds in the background there. We'll get those dropped back into place. So we had a little stall there. There is the tiniest of rocking motion going on here. So let's just give that another go. Let's roll that forward. So it is in general a lot smoother operation onto this turntable than the older one. There we go, I'll just run it a little bit too enthusiastically there. again. So, all good fun to be had with the turntable in the future, I think. And we'll get the fencing put onto that turntable. So, extra green switches, I've already made arrangements to get them. I'm just waiting to have them mailed to me. And a black switch so we can get that point wired up. So we'll get those in the next couple of weeks or so. We'll get those wired back to the controllers over here. I'll have to rejig these switches and move them along a bit because it makes sense to have them in there. So that's going to involve just a little bit of fiddling with some wiring. Nothing too major, I don't think. While I've been doing that, I've been looking back over the footage for the last video with the Class 47s. I've noticed that potentially the motor bogue is the wrong way round on this green model. I've had the green model for a long time, and it wasn't in great condition when I got it. And I did dismantle it and completely rebuild it. So I don't know whether I put it back together the wrong way around, but the steps do line up on the bottom here with the bodywork. But I've done a little research, and I think the motorised end wants to be this end under the exhaust vents, and that's the way around it is with the blue variations. And I've had a quick look on that great place for research, that auction site, and it seems to be that's the way around it is. So I don't know whether I put that back together the wrong way around originally when I rebuilt the model, or whether I just put it back together the way it was when I received it. As I say, it was in a bit of a state when I received it. So some point later today, I'll get this model apart on the bench, and we'll get some footage of it on the inside. It's relatively interesting, the amount of wiring in there. We'll have a look at it and get it back together again. But she runs nicely, but maybe I mistakenly put it back together the wrong way around. But it's so long ago now, I really can't remember. But I'm really pleased with the progress I made of that over yesterday afternoon. But looks like a bomb's gone off in here, so we've got stuff everywhere. But that happens. It's difficult to make changes without making a bit of a mess. So we'll just have a quick look inside it. You see you've got the separately fitted window parts there, and I think the code there is a separately fitted part as well. Let's see if we can get some focus on it. I'm just doing this handheld, so I think that may be a separately fitted part pushed into the main part of the body shell. Look like separate buffers there. I think, let's have a look. Yeah, they feel like they're plastic. I don't think they're metal. Let's see if we can get proper focus on that. You see we do have window wiper detail into that glazing unit in there. Let's have a quick look inside. So we've got one of those at both ends, and then we've got some very, very thick glazing parts stuck on for the windows down the side of the model there. So it looks in fairly tidy condition. I say it's probably done a fair bit of work, and you've got those metal handrails on there as well. You see those are just folded through there. I'm struggling with the speech again. We'll just have a look at the back side of the code on that end of the model too. So we'll just pop that down, and I'll get that reassembled at a later point. Now, as I said, I think I mentioned the wiring really was in a bit of a mess. It didn't have its diodes when I first got it, so we can see them there. I've got some wires just cut off, and I've perhaps attached them a little further back, so we get the same result as we would have originally had. We've got directional lighting. Let's see if we can get that to light up. Wrong direction. So we've got the lamp there, and I've put a bit of black tape in there. Let me see if I can point in there to stop the spread into the seating unit in here. Got a bit of silver foil on the bottom there to try and spread the light a bit more. Let's give that a little bit more power. So it does glow quite well, and then if we run that in the other direction, we'll just run down that mass of wires. And I put that rather clumsy sort of terminal connector in there because it was the easiest way of working on both ends of the model by separating it. So
Fortunately there was space in there to do that, so if we have a look around there, so I'm casting a shadow across the model as well, so let's wind that up a little so that gets nice and bright. And I did the same thing there by just putting the black tape on the seating unit to try and stop the spread into the cab. Perhaps I should have let it spread through, I'm not quite sure. But there is the Ringfield motor, that old version of the Ringfield there. Let's just slow that down a little. And then that's off, a very crude stop there. But we've got the two metal weights underneath here. So if we just have a quick look at the instruction sheet. Actually, the instruction sheet doesn't appear to show the metal weights, but that's how the wiring should have looked. And I think I'm missing a couple of little brass rivets in this seating unit on this end, so I've had to wire directly to the bulb, whereas they're in this end but sort of melted away if you look. Let's see if we can have a look around the other side of the motor there. So let's see if we can run that as well at the same time. Let's give that some power. So there's not a lot to see that side when it's running. You see the end of the armature shaft there. Let's just stop that, because I think that's just possibly needless noise at the moment. And we'll just run down that side. And again, that's a wire I've just blanked off, I was struggling. It was too short to do anything with, so I've just added additional. But yeah, it's quite a heavy model. And let's see if we can have a look at those pickups. See if I can just ease that up. You can see the pickup running down onto the front wheel there. Again, I'm trying not to cast a shadow there, so I think that's quite an interesting way of doing it. So we've got pickups on both sides, on both bogies. So quite a piece of engineering. And this, let me just stand that back on the rails there. So this is all metal all the way around. And you've got this cradle in here which is all metal, and then you've got the double metal weights in there. You can see two of them. I don't know whether I can pinch those out. You can see them there. I think I'll need both hands for that, but you can see. And we've got two of those metal weights in there. Now I'm going to need both hands for that, but you get the idea. So it's a nice heavy model. I think in the earlier video, which I think I left a link for last week, I did give the weight of this model. I must look that up. If I can find the weight of the model, I'll look it up. I'll put it in the corner of the screen. I'm really struggling to get that back on the rolling road, so I think we'll just pop it down there at the moment, and we'll put the rolling road out of the way. And I think I'll get this put back together. So I'm just turning the IVAT around, and we'll back her into the engine sheds now. Pretty much completed that and got everything wired back in. That's a bit quieter, isn't it? So I've got that point in there, number 4RR is what we're calling that one for now. Sorry, that was a bit wobbly. So we can see that one runs nice and reassuringly. There we go, and I've got the isolating switches. They arrived in the post, so I've got those all wired up back to the controllers. So I've got the isolating track in here as well. I know that I'm pointing at this and saying switches, but the isolating sections were in. I just didn't have the switches in the last section of the video, so
we've got those back there. They're temporarily labelled, so I haven't got around to printing up some new labels, so I'll get around to that in the next few days or so, I hope. And also I'll dig out the railings for the turntable there, so they're buried away in a box at the moment. So I'm thinking that I'm going to put a water tower and a crane in there at some point. So I just need to make arrangements for that. I've got a crane but not a tower at the moment, so we'll have to be on the lookout for something suitable. So I've got a very early series, one that goes with the Series 3 track. I'm not sure that would be quite right. So I was lucky enough to find a trade box of these buffer stops. So I think these came along 76, and I think they're still in production. Whilst it is a trade box, they're well used, and a number of them, I think all but 2 of them in the box have a broken part on them at the back there, but they're still nice and usable. So I've replaced behind the engine sheds here. I've replaced these earlier ones, which could be used on System 6 or Super 4, and I believe they started life in brown with a red top on here originally. So I've got 4 of those in there. So I think that finishes that off quite nicely. So my plan is to put the IVAT in here, and then isolate both of those, and then put the 264 tank in there as well. So let's back the IVAT off there. I have to apologise about the sunlight. It's streaming through here. So we're on the 8th of July, and this is relatively early in the morning. So let's back the IVAT off there. There she goes. She looks quite smart and happy sitting in the engine shed there. So I'm just going to isolate what I've called T2, just for track 2 off the turntable at the moment. Let's spin round and have a look at that. So as I say, we've got temporary labelling on here, but that will change. And now we need to get this 264 on the go. So I need to move points 2R there. And then I think we need to change the direction on the controller. And then she should roll forwards, he says, hopefully. There we go. A little bit further. Perhaps not the greatest of places to stop on 2 points together. So we'll just switch 2R again. And then we'll swap the direction. And let's see if she'll move off from this optimistic position. Yeah, not too bad. Let's see if I can stop it gracefully on the turntable. I've just noticed I haven't rotated the turntable, so we could have a bit of an accident there, couldn't we? So let's rotate. There we go. So let's see if we can hold this up in a slightly different position. That sunlight is really dreadfully strong now. There we go. And then we want to continue. Actually, we want to go counterclockwise. I think it's probably the best way to go in this situation. Let's have a closer look at the model. And there we have it. So let's back her off. And there she is, all sitting nicely there on the turntable, so I'll be able to hold quite a number of locomotives like that there. So I think that's going to be quite an effective use. And again, I can hold 2 on this line, the third line, the one that the 9Fs don't like. So we will have a look at that. I think I'm going to rotate the turntable back to where it came from, just so I don't repeat that accident in the future. There we go. I think we should try and encourage this water crane to stay in that direction perhaps. So my plan now is to get this Class 31 here, the one in experimental blue. Remember I mentioned earlier that I had an idea of different models to run with that sleeper train I had on the railway last week. So I was hoping to use the my EM2 in the sort of I think it's electric blue line livery. It's certainly a very bright blue line livery from the sort of mid-60s, I think it is, mid-60s. If you have a look at the insert picture there, she really isn't very happy on the rails. The flange depths just seem to bounce along on the sleeper chairs just that little bit too much to make it practical to use. But this model, I think from a similar era, I think this is 65 to 66, and she does have a trying Hornby box. Copes with it an awful lot better, so let's get the point work open and we'll see her in action. Number 3R, let's give that a go. And I think we should be good to get her out onto the inside line. We just need to change the direction, I think. A little power. And I've forgotten one of the points, so I'm still powered up towards the turntable, number 2. I think I forgot that one in the past. Right, so there's always another set to change. You do your best to try and remember. There we go. So it was a good plan, really. Yeah, that EM2 was just too uncomfortable on the rails. She's just bouncing along on the sleeper chairs, making it very uncomfortable to run. My later EM2s in the blue, the all-over blue livery, have a slightly different wheel flange depth, I think, and cope with this track very, very well. Of course, they were in production right about the time System 6 came along, whereas this model clearly wasn't. So just have a look at that. She's in beautiful condition. So it's R357B. I'll say that again without slurring or distorting the words. So you can see they're quite large flanges on those sleeved wheels there. So we might have the odd derailment. I did have one when I was practicing with it earlier on the curved points at the station, but really in very lovely condition. So I think we'll pop that one back on the rails before I drop it. So it always seems like a good idea to pick them up and have a look, but re-railing them one-handed can sometimes be more of a trial than you think. But I think in this instance we have it. Let's just give that a little power. Sorry, I've picked up the wrong controller there. There we go. Yeah, it helps if you use the right controller. So the later green one we've seen running recently, that has the extra pickups on the trailing bogie, so we have to forgive, I think, any slight stutters on diamond crossings and things, because she just does have the pickups on the motor bogie only. So here's the box she came in. Trying Hornby box, sort of what I call a square section box. It's got a paper label on the end there with the information, R357B. Definitely got magnet adhesion. And you can see somebody's written in a price there in the pricing spot. So it'd be nice to look at what that is and find out what that would be in today's money. I imagine it'd be quite an impressive figure. So again, a lovely paper label on the end there. You can see the white panel behind where you could... The train could have rubber stamped things onto these boxes as well, so I think the boxes were made up and used for a number of models throughout the period. So we'll pop that down and we'll open up some points. We'll get this locomotive into the station to pick up these coaches and the car transporter. So we're going to open the 4.0 which is the crossover there, and then we need 1.0 as well, otherwise we'll not be able to get onto the station approach properly. So we'll give that a go. So we'll just reach for the switches. So we'll do 1.0 and then 4.0, and I think 8R should be open, so we should be able to run seamlessly, he says, onto the outside line once we've collected the train. So let's give that a little power now and see if we can run through. I don't know why I've got that on half wave. We really don't need it for this model. So if I hold that up, we'll see it pass through the crossover. Yeah, we'll stop that there. I'll just reach backwards. Sorry, I'm not pointing the camera anywhere in particular. It's 1.0 we need to change. And I'll change the direction. And let's keep an eye on it. It's this curved point we're coming up to next that I had a problem with when I was practicing earlier. There we have it. That was nice and smooth. Yeah, front bogie was just jumping off with those sleeved wheels over the curved point there. So let's see if we can move that train away now. Don't think she'll have any problem with this train at all. With the magnetesian, she's got plenty of pulling power available, and she's such a lovely smooth runner. I think there's hardly any play in the bearing on this model whatsoever. Slightest of stutters on that diamond crossing, but I think pretty good for a model of such an age. And it's going to get bright into the sunlight here. And we'll just bring around onto the outside line. I think we're all the way out of the station approach now. So let's have a quick look over here. We'll close up number 8R. And then if I just tighten up the camera a little, I'll have a quick look over those models. There we go. Actually, if I just draw that forwards, we'll be able to see that car transporter a lot better. I know we saw it last week, but it's such a beautiful item and quite stunning in the sunlight. So I thought that was rather a nice collection of colours to go together when I was making that up the other week. And, we've got a break there. I know we saw these last week, but let's just look over them. A sleeper and another sleeper. I can't remember the model numbers offhand, so I'll put them in the corner of the screen. So there we go. We've got the buffet car, that lovely red stripe across the top of the windows, and another sleeper. And then we've got a brake as well there. So the roof has yellowed a little on that model, but I think that happens. It happens with the Pullman coaches as well from the early Pullman cars. So let's give that some power, and we'll keep it tight for the camera tight, and we'll have a look at her as she goes around. So a lovely purr from the motor. Into the sunlight there, and back past the signal box. So I'm just going to calm that down a little. I'll widen the camera a little now so we get a more overall view. So if I step back, we'll see if we can get the whole train in into that bright patch of sunlight again. I think she's making very light work of it. It's a very powerful motor in this model. So I think we should just take her over the elevated section. I don't think she'll have any trouble with it whatsoever. Well, let's see if I can bring her to a stop before I land on the point blades. There we go. So we just need to open up 1B in front of her, and then 2B, and then 1G is the tail end of the elevated section in this instance, and 3G, which is just there. So let's see if she'll come through this set of points. Again, it's that front bogey, which I think may cause a problem, but let's have a look. Yeah, it's not quite as happy as I thought it would be. Let's have a look. So I've just realised I've put this back on the track the other way around. So I had intended to have the motor bogey at the back here, but when we were looking at it, I think I swapped that around. Can't remember now. Usually run them with the motor bogey at this end, but let's see how she does. The danger is that it'll pull off over the curve. So let's see if she'll climb. Looking good so far, absolutely effortless. And I think we'll just stop it there. So we've got the whole group of models now is on the elevated section. It's all on a climb. So let's see if you'll move away. Yeah, I think that's effortless. And there's hardly any power on the controller there. I could really open that up and make the wheels spin, I think, if I wanted to. You can hear the motor changing as the load comes onto it, with all those coaches pushing her down. So we'll just bring her around. We'll bring her to a stop before the points again, points number 1B. And I think we'll return her to the station. So we need to, might as well close the elevated section up. That's 1G and 3G, and then 2B, the crossover between inside and outside there, or part of the crossover. And then I think 4B is already set correct, so we should be able to roll directly into the station. But I think that's probably it for this week. Thanks again for watching, it's hugely appreciated. If you look back again next time, we'll try and have something else from the range to have a look at, and hopefully I'll have those railings on the turntable. But it's been quite a bitty video, but I think it's a rather lovely model. This version of the Class 31 looks great with this particular train. I don't know whether it's correct or whether it would ever run with this collection of coaches and a car transporter, but it's great fun to play with. Thanks a lot. Goodbye now.